Enduro bike roundtable.
That's so weird.
There you go.
My finger hurts.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Levy. We're here at Pinkbike's annual field test, and it's time to talk about enduro bikes. We got 5 of them here that Casimir and Jason have been testing. We got the GT Force 29, Ibis's HD5, we have Specialized new Enduro, the Rocky Mountain Slayer, and also Yeti's SB165 with the coil sprung rear end. Which one of those monsters did you like the most?
For me, it's gonna be that Specialized Enduro. I mean, that bike, it's super impressive. It feels about as close to a downhill bike as you can get without a dual crown fork up front. Pretty light too, pedalable. It's still not like a pedal all around all the time bike, but the bike park was pretty amazing. It's fast, really fast.
Yeah. It feels like an out and out enduro race bike.
Yeah, it almost feels like more than an enduro race bike. I feel like there's some courses where it could feel like too much bike, but for something where you just want to go all out speed and you could hit anything you want, it's definitely the bike.
Do you think that it's maybe too compromised though?
No, I think I'm glad that they positioned it that way, because like the previous Enduro was kind of like a lot of travel, but it didn't really feel like a fast or racy bike. It's just kind of like a big comfortable bike.
Yeah.
This one's like, oh, this is a serious bike to go fast on.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the future we get a shorter travel version of that, because that'll be amazing.
All right, Jason, what about you?
Fully agree. Specialized Enduro.
Taking the easy route there, agreeing with Casimir.
I know. But you know what? The bike was really good. And you know, on our testing grounds, the Whistler Bike Park, the bike I had the most fun smashing out laps on was the Enduro. It smoothed out a lot of the bumps. It was easy to go fast on, but once we got to like Dirt Merchant, A-Line, it was still fun to get a ton of air on, hit those corners. I was surprised. It was really, really good.
Okay. Would you recommend it to somebody that maybe only rides park?
I would strongly recommend it to someone who only rides park. And if they ever found themselves pedaling up a hill, it would get them to the top.
Okay. What about the bike that you want to spend more time on? That maybe it has potential?
I would have said the Slayer, but it's in 2 pieces now, so I can't really do that anymore. I mean, the SB165, pretty fun bike. I had some great times here in Pemberton and in the park. Be kind of fun to mess around with a dual crown fork on that. And that could be another good park bike, just to see what it felt like.
What about you, Jason?
You know, I like the Yeti a lot too. I wouldn't mind taking the Ibis home and seeing what it would be like on our local trails, North Vancouver. You do have to pedal up, you know, it's a fact of life.
Yeah. Would you walk it or would you pedal it?
I would pedal that bike. It pedals quite well. It does get you to the top efficiently. It does have a bit more travel than your average trail bike. So if you find yourself steeper, gnarlier terrain, it can handle it.
Now we got to talk about least favorite. What is it?
I think Kaz and I have the same least favorite here. It's that GT Force, unfortunately.
Okay, why?
You know, I think the component spec really let it down. I think the frame, the Geo, it's pretty capable. I actually got my second fastest lap time, but I think it was because those brakes couldn't slow me down.
It's true.
I mean, the bike is a lot less expensive than the other ones, but
yeah, I'm glad they can have that bike in their lineup. Like, I'm glad it exists, and I just want it to be even better, because like the concept of a pretty value-priced, aluminum-framed enduro bike, big wheels, it's awesome. Like that's the kind of bike I'd be happy to have something with a more appropriate spec on it and just ride all the time. Like I have nothing against aluminum frames. I rode one a bunch last year as my own personal bike. They're great, but this one just didn't do what I wanted it to, basically. And the geometry is not far off. Like it's fine, and we both had a good time riding it.
For sure.
But then as the parts started just not working like we want them to, and the other little issues is.
Yeah, for sure. And we did mention in the judgment as well that, you know, picking one of those lower spec models and kind of using the money you save from buying this more expensive version to upgrade the select parts that you'd want.
Yeah, it's a potential route you could go.
For sure.
So Enduro, we got these bikes here. They're obviously incredibly capable. Where do you think this is going? Are they going to get like more focused on the down? Are they going to get more capable? What do you think is going to happen next year?
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky category, because this year we saw a bunch of longer travel bikes come out. We even saw some 27.5 bikes come out. And then the racetracks are getting rougher and rowdier, but then at a certain point you have too much travel. And I think that's kind of where we're at almost. Like we're getting close to the limit. I mean, I'm sure someone will prove me wrong. They'll come out with their 190 mil single crown bike someday. But I do think these are about as far as you can push it before you get into downhill bike territory.
Are downhill bikes even a thing anymore?
I love riding downhill bikes. They're super fun. Been testing a bunch this year, but it's even harder and harder to justify owning one when you could own a bike like the Enduro and just pedal it everywhere and still ride the bike park and feel just as fast.
Yeti coming out with the SB165, touting it as a free ride bike, essentially. You know, we're kind of going back in time a little bit. And then you have the Specialized that's more race oriented. And then you also have the Ibis, which is more of a long legged trail bike. And, you know, they're all into this one category Enduro. It's like, where's it going to go?
Options galore for people.
For sure.
Yeah. It really depends on what you're like, where you're riding and what your local terrain is like. Like you were saying, the Ibis is a good kind of all rounder, where the Enduro and the Yeti, they definitely need the more like hardcore terrain.
Yeah. All right. So if we're going to talk about Enduro bikes, I think we also have to talk about geometry. Some of these things are getting pretty slack. What's the head angle on that Enduro? Do you remember what that is?
Low position is like 63.9 degrees.
That's slacker than downhill bikes, or as slack as downhill bikes, but it's slacker than downhill bikes from not that long ago.
Yep.
It's pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
Where are we going with this geo? Are we going to see things get crazy long, steep seat angles, or is it going to take some time still?
Oh, I think everything's kind of moving forward. I do think we're going to reach that point where you can't go longer because you have to be able to reach the handlebars when you're sitting on the seat, and you can't make a 95-degree seat angle. There are limits, but it's cool that these smaller companies have inspired the bigger companies, and they've noticed and kind of put out some bikes like this, and the geometry works.
Yeah.
One thing I think is cool is the return of longer chainstays, especially on bikes that are meant to go fast. For a while, it was a trend that the shorter the chainstay, the better. You need that cornering performance, but it turns out it's not as necessary, especially once you hit these super fast speeds. It'll corner just fine, but you also have that stability. So I like seeing that. One thing I'd like to see catch on is more companies do different chainstays for different size bikes. I don't think any of the bikes in this category did that. They all maintain the same chainstay length across all sizes. Which,
for the record, we only have one bike here out of all the field tests that does that, the Norco Optic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that it just makes sense. Like if you're 6'5", having your back end to front end ratio be different than the guy that's, guy girl that's 5'2", it just seems like that should be the way to go.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too.
Yeah. Head angles, same thing. I think they'll get a bit slacker, but there's going to be a limit again. Like a bike can get too floppy and just feel too sluggish. So yeah,
I think we're long past those days where you would kind of define a bike by its head angle as well too.
Yeah, I think companies are realizing you can, and some of the numbers that first appeared in this category and the downhill bike category, they're trickling down. Now we have trail bikes that have numbers that a few years ago be like, oh, that's too slack and too long. So it's cool to see.
So that's it for Enduro bikes. If you have any questions, put them down below. We're going to answer them, and stay tuned for more videos from Pinkbike's Field Test.